Hey everyone, before we get started, make sure to subscribe to my channel for more stories like this. We're heading over to assist with the infant. My spouse's parents declared right after I delivered. I objected. We're relatives, they pressed. Okay, I put on a grin. The following day kicked off with their yells. What on earth is going on? I was utterly drained. 20 hours of childbirth, 20 hours of howling, perspiring, weeping, and sensing like my frame was splitting apart. And at last, I was back at home with my infant boy, Noah. I ought to have been recuperating, basking in the silence, the tranquility of those initial days with my child. But instead, the bell chimed. I was on the sofa, nearly dozing, hardly operational. Wesley, my spouse, was in the kitchen preparing tea. He didn't bother looking over. "Could you answer that, honey?" he shouted. I sighed and heaved myself to my feet. Each movement ached. My physique was ruined. I was still hemorrhaging, still mending, and now I had to greet the door as if hosting a gathering. I trudged across, unlatched it, and swung it wide. On my porch, grinning broadly, stood my mother-in-law, Linda. Beside her, my father-in-law, Charles, and trailing them, Wesley's younger sibling, Grace, carrying large bags. Linda emitted a squeak and shoved inside before I could respond. "Oh, darling, we've arrived." I blinked. Arrived for what? Linda placed her bag down and grinned, as if I'd posed a foolish query. "To assist. You've just had an infant. We assumed you'd require extra support." Charles sauntered in as though he possessed the home, humming a tune. "Lengthy trip," he grumbled, setting his bag right in the center of my family room. "What's on the menu?" Grace let out a theatrical yawn, pulling her bag by me. "Which bedroom is mine?" I remained there, clutching the knob so tightly my digits throbbed. What's happening here?" I pivoted to Wesley, who had at last ambled in, drinking his tea as if it were a regular day. Linda chuckled and tapped my arm. "Dear, don't be absurd. You've just delivered. You can't manage it all by yourself. We'll remain here for some time to support you." I gazed at Wesley, expecting him to reject them, to defend me, to declare, "Mom, Dad, Grace, you can't simply appear without notice with baggage as if you're settling in." But he didn't. He scratched his nape and offered me a sheepish grin. "They only wish to assist, honey." "Assist, sure?" I forced a grin. "Naturally, you're relatives. Settle in." Linda glowed. "See, I was sure you'd get it." I pivoted and headed to the baby's room, softly shutting the door after me. I lifted Noah, pressed him to my bosom, and murmured, "It's fine, little one. Mommy's handling it." I got no rest that evening. Linda burst into the baby's room each time Noah wailed. The initial instance, shortly past midnight, I'd scarcely nodded off when his cries echoed through the space. I rose, grimacing from the discomfort, and extended for him, only for Linda to dart in, scooping him up as if I weren't present. "You're grabbing him too quickly," she reprimanded. "You'll indulge him." I clenched my jaw. "He's an infant." She disregarded me, swaying him exaggeratedly and muttering some drivel about infants learning to calm themselves. The next occurrence at 2 a.m., I just swapped his diaper when she ambled in once more. "Oh, sweetie," she exhaled, observing me bundle him. "You're messing it up." She unbundled him and rebundled him as if I were incompetent. The third event at 4 a.m. I was nursing, partially asleep when she entered, shook her head, and genuinely attempted to tweak how I held my own child. "Linda," I uttered, my tone perilously quiet. "Go to sleep." She tapped my arm and grinned. "I'm simply attempting to assist." Assist. That term once more. By dawn, I was utterly exhausted. I entered the family room and discovered Charles lounging on my sofa in his undergarments viewing the broadcast, as if he resided there. Linda was brewing coffee. Grace was at my eating table browsing her device. None of them recognized me. None expressed gratitude for allowing them to stay in my home. None inquired about my well-being. And that's when it dawned on me. They weren't there to assist. They were there to settle in. I seized my phone and stepped outdoors, contacting the sole individual who would comprehend. Nora, my closest companion and my attorney. She answered immediately. "You sound lifeless," she remarked. My spouse's parents arrived with bags, I murmured. They claimed they're remaining to help me settle in. Silence, then, oh, no way. Yes, she breathed out firmly. The home is in your name, correct? Yes, rental. No. Ideal, she stated. In 60 minutes. I returned indoors grinning. That day was horrific. Linda critiqued all my actions. Grace transformed the spare room into her private lounge, cranking tunes from her computer. Charles dozed in my bed. He simply entered, slipped beneath my covers, and snored for 3 hours. And Wesley? Wesley did zilch. Zilch. By dusk, Linda issued a particular declaration during supper. We've resolved, she announced, slicing into the meat I prepared, because naturally I still needed to cook the meal. That will remain until Noah reaches at least 3 months, perhaps more. I nodded, grinned, and replied, Naturally, Linda. Your relatives, she glowed, and the subsequent morning, they awoke to a formal document. Linda shrieked. It was 7 a.m. I just settled Noah after an extended night when a piercing cry echoed from the family room. I didn't even react. I extended my limbs and stepped out to see Linda clutching the removal order as if it were fatal. She spun toward me. What in the world is this? I yawned. A formal notice? You have 2 days to depart? Charles stared at the document, his complexion reddening. You're removing us? Grace wiped her eyes, still browsing. Is this legitimate? Linda waved the notice at me as if that would delete it. You can't do this. We're relatives. There was once more. That term. I folded my arms. Linda, you didn't request to settle in. You overran my home. You've handled me like an ignorant kid when I just delivered. You don't honor my area or me. I want you gone. Her expression contorted in fury. Wesley, she yelled. Speak up. Wesley, positioned in the nook in casual pants, massaged his face. I waited. This was his opportunity. He inhaled deeply. Mom, perhaps you all should go. Linda's jaw fell. Pardon me, he fidgeted. It's her home and we just had an infant. She requires room. Linda flushed deeply. She requires us. She requires rest, Wesley murmured. And you keep intruding into the baby's room. I raised you, Linda snarled. And this is how you repay me. Remorse swept over him. Linda didn't debate. She maneuvered, acted the injured party until all yielded. Wesley wavered. I interjected before he could. You have 2 days, I stated icily, or I summon the authorities. Linda closed her mouth abruptly. For once, she was speechless. They rushed away. I could overhear Linda and Charles murmuring heatedly in the spare room while Grace pouted on the sofa. I went to my chamber and secured the door. 2 hours afterward, Wesley entered appearing distressed. Mom's truly distressed, he muttered. I remained silent. She believes you don't value her, he attempted. Like she's being tossed aside. I chuckled, not joyfully. Your mom appeared with baggage, commandeered my home, disregarded every limit, and behaved as if I were an inadequate parent. Now she feels tossed aside. He massaged his forehead. I just don't want matters to turn nasty. They already are nasty. Perhaps we can negotiate. Negotiate what? I retorted sharply. My home, my healing, my privilege to nurture my own child without your mom hovering over me. She simply wants to assist. Halt! I interrupted him. If you utter that term again, we stared intensely. Then the shouting commenced. I can't recall it fully. Rage obscured all. By the conclusion, Wesley took a cushion, grumbled, I need fresh air, and departed. He didn't return that evening. I awoke to Grace pounding on my door. Mom wants a discussion with you, she hollered. I disregarded her. She's organizing a family gathering. Naturally she is. I dressed and entered the family room. Linda perched rigidly on the sofa, clutching a mug of tea like royalty. Charles folded his arms. Grace nestled, device in grasp. Wesley hovered near the pane. Linda inhaled deeply, then grinned. The most artificial grin I'd witnessed. I believe we began poorly, she stated pleasantly. I seated myself, crossing my limbs. Do we need to recap how you intruded, demeaned my child rearing, and declined to depart? Her grin faltered. We assumed we were invited. Did I extend an invitation? Quiet. Precisely, I remarked. So what's this gathering for? Linda exhaled dramatically. Wesley and I conversed. She glanced at him. And we believe it's optimal if we collaborate to discover a resolution. A resolution? I mocked. The resolution is you depart. That's not viable, I blinked. Pardon? Charles coughed. Legally, indeed, you can expel us, he conceded, but that would generate many issues. I squinted. What sort of issues? Linda placed her mug down. Wesley would face a tough spot. Relatives aren't disposable. Oh, I perceived it now. Not regarding remaining. This was a warning. Grace smirked. Linda inclined a head. We can simplify this, dear. We remain. We assist. You don't need to handle this solo. And Wesley, she directed a sharp glance at him, won't need to pick factions. Wesley shifted. Mom, this isn't. Certainly it is, Linda remarked evenly. Union involves negotiation, doesn't it? And that's when I realized she was attempting to turn him against me. But she'd erred. She believed I was fragile. I grinned, gradual, keen aware. Fine, Linda, you wish to engage in this contest? Let's engage. Linda grinned as if she'd triumphed already. I had to restrain myself from chuckling. She believed she was engaging in strategy. I was poised to overturn the entire setup. I inclined ahead, copying her stance. Very well, Linda. Let's make this captivating. You wish to assist, correct? Her gaze sparkled with victory. Naturally, dear. We solely desire what's optimal for you and the infant. Ideal. I grinned pleasantly. Then, let's evaluate that. We'll observe precisely how supportive you truly are. Linda hesitated. What? What are you implying? I rose, extending. Since you're so keen to ease my burden, I prepared a roster. I retrieved a notebook from the surface and placed it on the table. A roster? A task roster? I glowed. Washing, thorough scrubbing, shopping, food preparation, overnight nursings, and I have numerous afterbirth requirements that demand care. Since you demand on remaining, you can manage all of it. Linda's expression fell. Well, and remember Grace, I appended. She's been dozing late. Must be pleasant. But if she wants to linger without cost, she can manage all diaper swaps and container cleaning. Grace straightened. What the heck? I pivoted to Charles. And you? He stiffened mid-bite. You enjoy reclining on my sofa daily, correct? Excellent. You can address the outdoor tasks and home upkeep. The barrier requires mending. The storage is chaotic. The drains need clearing. You'll adore it. Charles gulped. Linda gazed, appalled. You anticipate us to perform tasks? I pretended bewilderment. But you claimed you desired to assist, Linda. What did you assume that entailed? Lounging, sipping tea, directing me while I handled everything. Grace sighed. This is totally unjust. Charles grumbled softly. Linda seethed. Wesley, fortunately, was scarcely suppressing a smile. Well, I inquired pleasantly. Are you assisting or departing? Linda's teeth tightened. She eyed the roster as if it had offended her. At last, she seized the notebook and rose. Fine, she ejected. If this is necessary to demonstrate we care, then we'll accomplish it. Grace stared wide. Mom, not presently. Linda retorted. She believed she was exposing my deception. She had no clue I was completely earnest. It was magnificent. Linda began vigorously, folding garments forcefully while grumbling. Grace swapped one diaper, retched, and almost vomited. Charles attempted to repair the barrier, crushed his finger, and announced he required a 3-hour pause. By midday, Linda was perspiring profusely. Grace was attached to her device, and Charles was absent. I reclined sipping tea, relishing the spectacle. By the second day, Linda was finished. I discovered her in the washing area gazing at the machine, overcome. I don't comprehend how you manage this daily, she inhaled. Because I must, Linda, that's the distinction. You arrived here assuming you were in command, handling my residence like a getaway, assuming I required you. But you're already crumbling. She swallowed deeply. You don't assist by dominating and making individuals feel insignificant. You assist by honoring their area, decisions, limits. Something you've never accomplished. She gazed uncertain for the initial time. That evening, Wesley entered anxious. I was swaying Noah to slumber. I must inform you something, he remarked. I exhaled. If this is another mom intends well talk. Spare it. It's not. Something in his manner halted me. Linda contacted an attorney today. My gut sank. What? He breathed out. She aims to contest for grandparents' privileges. Chill coursed through me. This wasn't merely about remaining. She was attempting to assert a formal right on my child. Wesley had the audacity to appear remorseful. She claimed it's just a safeguard, he murmured. A safeguard? I retorted. Because she overran my home and weakened me. He recoiled. I don't believe she truly seeks guardianship. She just desires dominance. I concluded. And you were aware of this, weren't you? His quiet revealed all. How long have you known? I inquired, unnervingly composed. He swallowed. Several days. Several days. My own spouse had known his mom was contemplating legal measures against me and revealed nothing. I felt ill. You allowed me to sit opposite her, grin at her, assuming I was in charge while she schemed against me. He rubbed his face. She vowed she wouldn't truly submit. She just desired alternatives. I chuckled harshly and without mirth. You permitted her just like always. I didn't assume she'd. Naturally you didn't. You never assume, Wesley. I inhaled unsteadily. But I will. I exited. Linda was in the kitchen drinking tea as if she hadn't just endangered my existence. Grace messaged. Charles feigned reading a periodical. They glanced up. So, Linda, I remarked, tone frigid. When were you intending to inform me you engaged an attorney? She blinked. Pardon me. Don't act ignorant. Wesley informed me grandparents' privileges. Linda placed her mug down. Now, dear, don't dear me. You're attempting to seize my infant. She exhaled as if I were challenging. You're overreacting. I would never remove Noah. Then why consult an attorney? She clasped her hands. Because I was worried. You've been antagonistic, and I needed to guarantee I'd still visit my grandson. Antagonistic? She nodded neatly. You've repelled us since we came. Because you settled into my home without invitation. Linda gestured dismissively. We're relatives. That's what relatives do. Grace mocked. Charles grunted. I pivoted to Wesley. Speak. He parted his lips, then sealed them. That was it. The instant I realized my union was finished. Wesley would never select me. I breathed in sharply, then grinned. Fine, I remarked. You desire legal participation. Let's fully commit. Linda furrowed. What do you imply? I retrieved my phone. I'm contacting my attorney. She tensed. That's unnecessary. Oh, but it is because I'll be submitting a protective order. Hue faded from her face. Grace inhaled sharply. Charles let fall his periodical. Don't be absurd. Linda retorted. I'm completely earnest. You've exceeded bounds for the final time. You're a danger to me and my child and Wesley. I pivoted to him. You must determine now whose faction you're on. His lips parted and sealed. He gazed at Linda, then at me, and I realized. I nodded gradually. Comprehended. I pivoted, headed to the chamber, and began packing. I departed that evening. I gathered Noah, seized the necessities, and contacted Nora, who said we could remain with her. Wesley didn't attempt to halt me. Linda raved about me dismantling the relatives. Grace rolled her eyes. Charles said zilch. I disregarded them all, fastened Noah into his carrier, and drove off without glancing rear. I submitted for separation a week afterward. I obtained full guardianship. And Linda, she advanced her grandparents' privileges claim and failed. The magistrate perceived what I'd seen throughout. She wasn't a worried grandmother. She was a dominance enthusiast who didn't know when to cease. Wesley contacted months later, brimming with remorse. I never replied. Some disloyalties can't be reversed, and some individuals don't merit another opportunity.